barely finished one.
Wow,
Yes.
Is it really enjoyable?
Yeah, I'm 150 pages. Like 150 something pages.
It's a biography, right?
I thought so.
All right, so last week on Friday, or on Tuesday, last week, you submitted your Ben 2 stories. Okay, over the break, yesterday, I read them, and you should have received an email from me. Did you receive an email?
Yeah.
No, like some of you didn't turn them in, like you forgot to click turn in, but I still graded it. And you should have an email. If you don't, we can find it later, but you should have received an email from me that has the rubric attached and different boxes highlighted in the rubric, and also my comments. Right, so you're gonna need that for today, or it's gonna be part of what you need for today. Now, we've done Ben 1, we've done Ben 2, okay, writing narratives, going over all of this stuff. Okay, now, knowing what you know now, if you had to write another story, what's the first thing you would do? Turn it.
Thinking about all you know. First, yes.
All right, what? Yeah. Another one, a better one.
I don't think my second book will hold that much.
So what's the first thing you would do? Chloe? Okay, brainstorm ideas, generate them. So that's planning, right?
Yeah.
Planning. What else? What else would you do first? Chloe? Review your stories. Look at the feedback that I gave you. Okay? Look at the checklist. Look at all this stuff up here. So you're going to go back to the drafts. Okay, look at the feedback you've received. Brainstorm ideas. We got these up here, right? Our strategies for generating narrative topics. You're going to make a plan. You're going to revisit your goals. In the front of your notebook, you have a writing goal. So I'm going to go back to that, see how you're doing in achieving that goal and getting there. Revisit mentor texts. So we have I's story, we have everything will be okay. We have look up and watch the sky. We have the example I gave you from Lucy with the garden, right? The before and after revision there. Also, to help me brainstorm, I'm going to use charts and timelines. Now, I want to give you some specific information on what I think is a good starting point for you guys today. Because I just read all of your stories, and there are some things I noticed that cause us to move slowly as we progress through our stories and as we convey some meaning. Now, the one thing that I notice is missing from a lot of stories is the deeper meaning. Right? The deeper meaning. So, in a lot of the stories I read, you showed me that you can write well. For example, you gave me big pieces of description that included many of these things, like inner thinking, and description, and figurative language, and personality traits worked into your dialogue. Right? You showed me all these things, but the one thing that should connect it all is the deeper meaning of your story. Okay, so for example, if Lauren she writes this wonderful description of her walking up the steps in the morning, up the stairwell, and she does this so well that I feel like I'm actually walking up the steps myself. Right? I feel like I'm in the stairway, and I can smell the smells and see the sights and feel the walls. Right? I feel like I'm there. Her ability to describe that walk is amazing. Right? It's otherworldly. Right? That's nice. But if it's not part of the story, it's just kind of wasted energy. Right? So our stories need a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? There needs to be tension. Right? There's tension. There's resolution. Okay, what really separates a 5th grade story from a 6th grade story is the use of these story elements. So it has to feel like a story. The character must endure or overcome some issue. And for a lot of you, that issue is there, you're just telling it like a journal entry and not like a story. So when you look at that feedback today, keep that in mind. Now, as we begin to write our 3rd draft or our 3rd story today, what's going on back there? I guarantee it's not as important as what's happening up here. Okay? My suggestion to you guys today, as you work to generate new ideas for another story, is to think about the time you learned something. Okay? Because I think in a challenge across grade 6 is conveying a meaning. Conveying a deeper meaning in your story. Okay? We're good at showing the reader what's happening. Right? But conveying a meaning, sharing a lesson is the challenge for us, I think, as an entire grade 6. So one way that we can overcome that is to focus on it from the beginning. So in your planning, okay, you're thinking about the deeper meaning from the beginning. Right? You're thinking about that deeper meaning from the beginning. Okay? Once you have that, it'll be easier for you to figure out which scenes or which parts of your story connect to that deeper meaning and which do not. So you'll know which scenes to really zoom in on and climb inside, and which ones that you can just describe briefly and move on. Okay? So one thing you might do when you get back to your seat is take a piece of paper like this, right? So once you have your story seed idea, okay? You have your story seed idea, you know what you're going to write about, okay? You might want to go back and take a piece of paper and break it into 4 pieces or 8 pieces like this. And in each block, you just write a sentence to describe that scene. For example, if I were to do this with everything will be okay, I would write here, Jim finds the cat. And then here, Jim brings the cat home. And then here, Jim describes his relationship with his brothers. Here, Jim talks about family pets. Here, Jim and his brother bring the cat to Dr. Milk. And here, it ends. Right? So I start with these scenes. Right? And then I think about my deeper meaning. Right? And then I decide which scenes get blown up and which scenes shrink. Right? This was a challenge for all of us. Okay, so, man, you know, some of you had wrote a lot, like every scene was big and zoomed in on. But that's not what we need to tell the story. Some of you just told me what happened without zooming in on anything. Right? And that's not what a story needs as well. Okay, so when I come around and talk to you today in conferences, I'm going to ask, you know, what's your story really about? And then what are your scenes? What's going to happen in the story to convey that message, to convey the deeper meaning about what your story is really about. So right now, I want you to take a minute. Some of you may have a new story idea already in your head. You may need to look back through your notebook. Take a minute now. Try to come up with something to write about today, or to start planning today. You may already have that idea. It may be in your notebook already or in your head. Just take a minute now, and I want you to tell the person next to you what it is. Okay, so talk, or open your notebook, flip through, look at what's there. So it sounds like it's really about working together to solve problems. It's not about robotics, really. It's about being part of a team and working together. Okay, so raise your hand if you have a story idea. Almost everybody? Anybody want to share one? Ethan.
I was once using my phone when my parents thought that I was sleeping, and I was hiding inside my blanket, and my mom suddenly came in and she found the light from that was coming from inside my bed, and I was like, what should I do? And then I just dropped the phone, pretend to sleep, and just left the phone, and I didn't get caught.
It was me every single night. Every single night.
So Ethan, what's the story really about?
Really about that you shouldn't do you shouldn't do you shouldn't play with your phone when you're not supposed to.
Okay, so you shouldn't hide that from your parents.
You should be honest.
Yeah, you should be honest.
You were
So,
honest.
did you feel guilty when you got away with it?
A lot.
A lot, right? So,
Next time I got caught.
so guys, look here. This is a really good example because James, what he's talking about is one of the big challenges we face in 6th grade, not just as writers but also as readers. And that challenge is going beyond the text. So what I mean is, his story, it's about playing with his phone when he's not supposed to and almost getting caught, right? Now, on the surface, that's what it's about. But what it's really about is a boy disobeying his parents and feeling guilty, right? And learning how to understand the guilt he feels. Right? Right? So it's not so much about the phone. It's about understanding guilt. All right? Now we're going to send this video to his mom and get him in trouble twice. Right?
Oh, I just forgot about the
Oh, I
recording.
was also looking.
Now, another good example I heard was Inbed talking about working together to solve some problems in robotics club. So the story's really about working together to solve a problem, not about robotics. Right? What the reader will take from this story is a message about working together and solving problems. Right? And the reader's not going to take some knowledge about robotics, really. What we want them to get from it all is that we work together to solve problems. Right? So as you go back, if you want to talk to your partner about your ideas, that's fine, but please do that on the carpet, on the sofa, or on the beanbags. So when you're at your tables, no talking. If you want to chat about what you're thinking, bring your partner to the back here and have a quick chat, and then go back to the desks and work on your planning. Right, so think of today as a planning day. We're taking charge of our writing by doing a lot of planning to make sure that when we actually write, when we start drafting, all of our ideas are planned and the sequence of events is there, and we can focus on the writing and not the order of things. Okay? So, good luck. I'll see you at your desks.